All right, Coach Coen's with us. If you've got questions, go ahead and raise your hand. Coach, if you want to make an opening statement, go right ahead.
I'm all set. Good, thank you.
Okay, so we'll open up for questions. Looks like Nick Kraus, you got the first one, so go right ahead.
We've heard a little bit about Tay Crooms this spring. What do you just like what you've seen from him so far?
I mean, he can run. Tay can really run. He's a kid that's, still learning the offense similar to a lot of guys right now, but he's showing the ability to get down the field a little bit so far this spring. And he's made a couple contested catches down the field on some go balls and ran a good slant today and the other day in practice. So he's doing some good things. There's definitely some skill set there that we want to try to continue to develop. And just like all these guys, just getting in his book, as the install starts to accumulate here, you can see some heads starting to spin a little bit. And, that's the part of this thing is we got to get this offense installed. We're going to have our core concepts and philosophy of what we're going to do. And as the install starts to build, the guys really need to study and work on some of this stuff. But Tay's been, he's flashed so far a little bit this spring.
Josh Moore.
Hey, Liam, Mark on Saturday made it sound like the defense got a little bit the better of the offense. Was that the case, or how?
Yeah, I think, any time in football, right, you're going to have give and take. And you would expect nothing else from this unit and this group on defense to respond. And same with us. If they get after us, we got to come back on the next day and have a little bit of a sense of urgency to get after it. And but I really I think that this defense and really as a unit, as a offense and defense accumulation whole thing together, these guys compete really hard. These guys compete, they practice hard, they really can get after it. And there's going to be days where we're not going to have as good of days, and I'm sure that's going to happen on Saturdays too, but it's how we respond. And I thought we responded in a solid way today.
Adam.
Hey, Liam, that tight end position, how much are you all going to move those guys around? Maybe in the slot, I don't know, maybe use Upshaw and some of his talents. I don't know, in the red zone, maybe lining him up at X some. And then just when you're building formations, how important is that tight end spot for, their ability to move around to kind of create some matchups against defenses?
Very important. Very important. I mean, it's a little bit different in the NFL, whereas when you displace the tight end out in the formation, a lot of times that can give you some answers to the coverage, whether they put a safety out there in man coverage or not, or if they leave a corner out there. Now you have your slot receivers now one-on-one with a safety. So displacing the tight ends is something that we definitely want to be able to do. They're smart kids. They're multiple. We'll be able to use those guys in multiple different ways, whether it be in formations and pass concepts. And obviously their flexibility in the run game has been pretty dynamic over the last couple of years. So using those guys is a huge advantage for us, giving matchups on them, but also trying to create matchups for some of your other skill players is also key. So that's a good question. We definitely need to use those guys, and our formations create that multiplicity to be able to create some of those matchups.
John Hale.
Liam, when we talk about quarterbacks, obviously a lot of the attention gets to Bo and Joey because we've seen those guys before. But how are Scalzo and Sharon doing this spring? What have you seen from those guys that maybe we haven't heard a lot about so far?
Yeah, I mean, Nick is just a type of kid. He can really switch his arm angles and do some different things. He's a smart kid who loves the game of football. He's swimming a little bit mentally, just like everybody is. But it's one of those things that he's shown some good things. And Kai is the type of kid, it's like he'll make a throw, big time throw, and then just kind of walk off the field like nothing happened. He's really kind of a cool customer who's got some stuff to him. He's got a big arm. He's done some nice things. All these guys have really, progressed, I think. But like you mentioned, some of those other guys aren't getting as much, notice because you guys haven't seen them. But from a progression standpoint, I'm pleased with both of those guys as well.
Lonnie.
Excuse me. Liam, I'm kind of an old school kind of guy. And I remember, of course, back when I played, coaches would get on you hard. I mean, it'd be, but today's kid nowadays, you can't do that to every single kid. Every kid don't respond to that. and I understand that you have a great personality, and I'm wondering how you're getting your messages across to your players. Any difficulty, or do you have a secret way of getting to them?
I think that's a good question. Learning from Sean was there's multiple ways to communicate with players to get your message across. And, being in the NFL, there's a lot of difference. There's a lot of similarities with these guys, but there's also some differences, right? Like guy shows up late to a meeting, he's going to get fined. Guy, does something wrong in practice, he's going to get fined, a fight, whatever it is. We still have to teach these guys how to get to that point. And I think it's a mix, Lonnie. I think it's a mix of some of the things I learned from Sean, the ways to communicate and motivate, but also, I do have some Northeast New England in me, and it comes out sometimes. And, there's going to be times where I'm going to jump guys and get after them. But at the end of the day, try to bring them back and love them up and try to create an atmosphere that they want to come back to, they want to strive in, and they want to learn in. It's not always going to be easy, loves, kisses, hugs, and pats on the butts. But there's going to be times that we have to be hard and get after these guys. So I don't know if it's a true formula, but taking some pieces from guys that I've learned from over the years, also with my just kind of who I am, it's going to come out a little bit. So, probably a little bit more than it did Sean, but definitely learned so much from him from a communication standpoint.
John Wong.
Hey, Liam, we hear this term culture bandied about a lot, and Mark Stoops says he's worked hard to change the culture of Kentucky football. As a new guy coming in with all your vast experiences, what's your initial impression of where the culture of Kentucky football is right now?
I'll tell you what, I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, and just the way that these guys go about their business. I mean, it's not easy being a student athlete at any level, but especially at this level. They're up early, meetings, practice, walkthroughs, study hall. I mean, all this stuff. And we get a list at the end of the week and there's hardly anybody on it from a late standpoint or a missed standpoint. There's always going to be some things. There's so many guys on the team, but the way these guys go about their business, the way Coach Stoops has got this thing rolling, it's actually a really pleasant surprise, just being at other places. You just don't know. And you come in and a free blitzer is coming and he doesn't come and just get in the quarterback's face. He just ducks down and lets the play continue, or there's a contested play to be made and the DB knows he could maybe go try to hit the receiver as on his way down. They don't do that. These guys know how to practice. You can tell it's been repped and coached, and they've done such a nice job of that. It's been a really pleasant surprise.
Josh Moore.
Liam, last week, and I know Quentin's going to talk, we talked with you some about the center position and those guys. What in particular about that position is different for these fellas going from, mostly shotgun stuff last year to what they're learning now? I mean, I know it's different for everybody, what you're teaching, but for those guys specifically, what kind of adjustments do they have to make?
I think honestly, it's just some of the new schemes that we're running up front. The wide zone is a whole new scheme for these guys. They ran tight zone, but it's a very different football play. And it takes a lot of reps. And the centers, there's so much on these guys' plates, and it's kind of been that way with Drake over the years. And these guys are just kind of seeing him do his thing over the last couple of years. And I'm sure that they're trying to take over those reins, which is what we're looking for. We want somebody to take it over and do it as he did. Now it's just he did it in the same system for four straight years. So it's a lot different for these guys coming in and trying to take it over, make all the run calls, make all the pass protection calls, do all that stuff in a new system. And going against the defense that creates some issues for you in terms of some of the techniques and fundamentals that they play with. So it's hard on all those guys, but Q's a smart kid, really, happy about him and just moving forward, getting him rolling, confidence, and just kind of rolling with this thing. But we're looking for somebody to come, just take it over as Drake did, but it's a little bit different than Drake being in the same system for 4 years, not to take anything away from him.
Derek Terry.
Yeah, Liam, speaking of offensive line, who are kind of the main guys out at right tackle right now? Just overall, how's that battle kind of shaken out to this point?
Yeah, I think Flax right now is made himself a cornerstone over there right now at right tackle, and Dave Wallabaw's just kind of getting back into the flow of things, and he's definitely a young athletic kid that we're excited about. But I think Flax right now is probably solidified himself a little bit there at right tackle and done a nice job. You know, really more athletic than I thought he was. Just didn't really get to see a lot of tape of him, but we'll rotate some guys in. I do believe in consistency and chemistry, but I also believe in getting some other guys some reps and spelling guys so we're a little bit more fresh throughout the game and play as many guys as that can handle it. You know, obviously you got the big blue wall, you got to start in 5, but everybody knows that the offensive line is a unit. It's a full unit. All those guys are good. It doesn't matter that there's 5 just playing to begin with. We'd like to be able to try to play 6, 7 guys in a rotation, maybe even more if we can handle it. But Flax has done a nice job so far at right tackle.
Larry Vaught.
Yeah, Liam, just wonder if you could tell me what you have thought of Darian Kinnard the more you get to watch him.
Yeah, I think Darian's is just the type of kid that when you get up close to him, you're like, oh man, you know, he's a much better looking dude when you really see him in person. Type of kid that is athletically, you're looking for that type of body type and that prototype essentially, you know, and just his attitude, demeanor, the things that he does and brings to the table is something that you really can't coach in a lot of instances. You know, you can't coach some of the things that he can do. As good of a coach as there are, he does some things, and just from his demeanor and mentality, love the way he comes to practice every day and the way he comes to work. So excited about him moving forward.
Jeff Drummond.
Liam, this is about the midway point for you guys. I'm kind of wondering, is there a big key that you're looking for over the second half of the spring moving forward?
You know, I think it's a little bit more as we go with the install. I mean, we have our core offense in right now. Like basically, hey, who do we want to be for the most part moving forward? We have that in. Now it's about some wrinkles, some situational football, third down, red zone, our last plays of the game, end of game situations, getting that stuff in. There's a lot of past concepts that we can still continue to install, but it's really about what is our core philosophy going to be. And I think we have that in. It's just now about getting better at those things day by day. Specifically in the wide zone run game and continuing on with some of the play action keepers and screens on first and second down. Got a little bit of third down work today, which was great to get some of that stuff in. And as we move, we'll continue to work on those situations. Third down and red zone couldn't be more important areas of the football game. And we get more reps of those. I'll feel a little bit better about this thing all coming together.
Adam.
Hey, Liam, just at running back, I know Rodriguez, that's kind of going to be the unit's guy this year, but obviously that's a position. It's important to have depth there. What are you seeing from those guys? Kavasi, Smoke, McLean, Tisdale, and is this new move to the wide zone, is anybody at that position really taking off with this new type of running style?
That's a good question. I do think Smoke and Jatan have really kind of taking their game to another level. Tiz had a good day today. Tiz had a good day, did some nice things today in the pass game and in the run game. And I think it's more so the wide zone to me, it's very similar to the tight zone for our track. It's just a little bit wider and we still want to hit it ideally in the same spot. But I think where these guys are starting to separate themselves a little bit is their ability to be able to run and catch and do some different things in the pass game and free releasing those guys or displacing them out a little bit, bringing them back, doing some different things that could create some issues for the defense. You know, if you're in man coverage, that's a linebacker one-on-one with Smoke or Jatan or whoever it is out there. And I think that's a matchup that works in our favor. So I do feel good about those guys right now. I mean, it's a deep group. It's a deep group that I'm excited about those guys. We have to continue to work on finding ways to get those guys on the field in different ways and create touches for those guys.
All right, we got 2 more. John Hale go, and then John Clay, you'll finish. John Hale, go ahead.
You've mentioned Drake a couple times the last 2 weeks now. Just if you could put on your NFL hat again for a second, if you watched film of him just evaluating this offense, how do you think his skill set kind of translates to the next level?
You said Darian?
Drake Jackson.
Oh, Drake. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Man, he reminds me so much of John Sullivan, who we had in Los Angeles, who played at Notre Dame. He's a Connecticut kid, Connecticut man. He's older than I am, actually. Retired now, but just in terms of the total understanding of the offense that he had was just blew me away. The type of conversations that Sully and Sean would have would just go over a lot of people's heads. I mean, Drake has that level of understanding of the game. And I think his football, just being a football player, is going to be able to take over. He's obviously done this at a high level for a number of years. And I can't only foresee him continuing to do so. I do believe with the amount of things that are on centers in the NFL, especially maybe going somewhere where they don't want too much on the quarterback or have a younger quarterback they don't want to put some of those things on. I do think Drake would be a great fit in some of those systems. And I do, see a player comp similar to John Sullivan.
John Clay, wrap us up.
Liam, I know you've got a lot on your plate, but how much fun has this been to teach an offense to a new unit like this?
It's been unbelievable. I've been texting with Sean back and forth over the last couple of weeks, sending him clips of things that we're doing that we did in Los Angeles. And he's like, man, that's really cool to see this whole thing come to fruition and just be able to teach this thing that, plays and schemes and concepts, the philosophy of the offense, being taught the way I was taught it from one of the best in the business. It's been really fun. And to have the coaches here all on board with what we're doing and be passionate about what we're teaching. It's been really fun. It's been really fun to really get on the grass and coach these guys hard and have that ownership. It's when you're an assistant coaching a position, you're one of many, right? You're a soldier, you do your job, you have ownership of your position. Well, now I have a little bit more ownership over a whole unit. And the way this whole thing looks is a reflection of me personally, as well as our coaches and our staff. So we want to put a good product on the field for the fans, for our players, but also for self-pride. And I'd like for this whole thing to reflect what I would like to look in the mirror and see in terms of just the way we'd go about our business and the way we prepare and play. So it's been so much fun to be able to come to work every day and get to work with these guys.
All right, Coach Coen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.